Someone just tried the door.
This right here is a YouTuber named Brendan, who in February of 2024 uploaded a video titled Scary Attack While Van Camping on his channel Brendan Explores. His channel is dedicated to outdoor exploration, and he frequently uploads footage of his stealth camping experiences while traveling across the UK in his camper van. In this particular video, Brendan chose to go stealth camping near a residential area located at Jaywick Sands Beach. Brendan begins the video by parking his van in a nearby parking area and exploring the local surroundings. However, he finds the area too strange and noisy for his liking, as he hears many bikes and cars racing around him. Therefore, he decides to drive about 30 minutes to a nearby forest. After locating a good spot to park his van, he felt satisfied with the quiet and peaceful surroundings, and it seemed like he was alone in the woods. As the night began to set in, Brendan enjoyed his dinner and decided to go to bed around 10 p.m. However, at approximately 2:30 a.m., he was suddenly awakened by the sound of footsteps outside his van. It was at this moment that Brendan encountered something truly disturbing.
Nice and quiet here. Not even a sound of a distant car. Just how I like it. It's absolutely dead quiet. I'll see you in the morning. I think someone's outside the van. Half past 2. Someone just tried the door. Hey! Right, whoever the that was has now gone.
After hearing someone trying to unlock his side door, and then moments later witnessing the glass of his passenger side window shatter into pieces, Brendan quickly shouted at the individuals and stepped out of his van. Unfortunately, the person ran off before Brendan could confront or identify anyone. After this bizarre encounter, Brendan, without thinking twice, drove 3 hours back to his house. The next morning, Brendan gave a detailed update to his viewers and mentioned that the individual who attempted to break into his car likely saw his fridge sitting on the passenger seat. When they failed to unlock the doors, they broke the glass window in an effort to steal the fridge, or even the van itself. However, when they heard Brendan shout and realized someone was inside the van, they quickly fled back to their own cars. Despite his van being damaged, Brendan was fortunately unharmed during the break-in and managed to safely make it back home. He later mentioned that out of the hundreds of camping trips he has taken, this was the most scared he has ever been. However, he also stated that he wouldn't let this disturbing encounter stop him from camping in the future.
This guy is really starting to freak me out. It's been like a half an hour and he just keeps on moving his vehicle, so he's just staring me down, and I'm afraid to go up the front there, but...
I was down in my tent, not asleep, listening to all the sounds, and then I heard somebody down by the shelter. So at first I had to convince myself it wasn't what I thought I heard, but it definitely was somebody down there.
This right here is a YouTuber named Phil, who in December of 2021 uploaded a video titled Creepy Night in the Woods on his channel Hike Slam. His channel primarily focuses on outdoor exploration, and he regularly shares footage of his hiking and camping experiences throughout North America. In this particular video, Phil chose to go on a solo overnight hike along the Appalachian Trail in Virginia. He starts the video by venturing deep into the woods in search of a suitable camping location for the night. The first few minutes of his hike seemed to go smoothly, and everything appeared to be quite normal. However, about 30 minutes into the hike, he stumbles upon some peculiar trash along the trail. Oddly enough, some of the containers he discovers have writing on them that resembles song lyrics and poems. Nevertheless, Phil chooses to ignore the peculiar writing and carries on with his hike. As he explores further, he encounters another set of strange notes and writings as he approaches the campsite. This time, however, Phil notices a dead duck lying next to the notes, and this is when things start to take a very disturbing turn for Phil.
The weirdness continues. What the hell? And there's a dead duck here. A very long note. And it looks like it was just put here because it's not wet. That duck is fairly recently killed. Alright. Kinda creepy.
After discovering another set of disturbing writings and cryptic poems, Phil finds a dead duck lying next to them. At that moment, he notices a campsite just a few yards away from the notes and the dead duck. It's unclear whether the person who wrote the notes is also responsible for killing the duck. Nevertheless, Phil decides to keep his distance from the campsite and continues on his hike. As he makes his way up the trail, he encounters two women hiking down the trail.
Okay, well that was really weird. So as I was hiking toward the shelter, these two women were hiking in the opposite direction. They had a little dog with them. They asked if I had seen the guy who was leaving the notes. I said he has a campsite down by the river. They were shocked I was still considering camping out there, but they said that they were kind of freaked out and asked if I would go with them and walk past his campsite so they could get back to their car. So I did, and then when I got back to my truck, and I'm actually on the Appalachian Trail, just going the opposite direction. But I'm just gonna find the closest camp spot to where I'm at because the sun is going down, and set up camp and yeah, settle in for the night.
Phil mentioned that the two women asked him if he had seen a man leaving disturbing notes and dead animals. When he told them he noticed a campsite just a few yards away from the notes, the women, afraid for their lives, asked him to walk back to their car with them. Phil agreed and walked back with them before heading in the opposite direction to find a safer place to camp for the night. Once Phil arrived at the shelter, he set up camp for the night and enjoyed his dinner, far away from the unsettling notes. Later that night, Phil went into the shelter to check out the camp log and read some of the notes and stories left by other hikers. That's when Phil discovered something extremely disturbing once again.
I'm gonna check out the shelter log here. Almost every shelter on the Appalachian Trail has a shelter log. It's kind of cool tradition here. So let's see what this one says. All right, let's see what's happened recently. Holy crap. Wait a second. This writing looks almost exactly like the writing that was on that garbage a couple of miles from here.
It's important to note that the shelter where Phil is currently located is more than 2 miles away and is situated entirely on the opposite side of the road from the notes and ducks he saw earlier. The handwriting in the camp log is identical to the handwriting he found in the previous notes and trash. The situation becomes increasingly disturbing as Phil starts to read through the logbook.
In 2018, while I was incarcerated at the Okaloosa County Jail, what the heck? In solitary confinement, I figured the following out. Refer to Isaiah 28:15. Here in early 2017, Trump, Nebo, allowed Obama to have the special use of the Air Force One for a trip to Palm Springs. This is the same ramblings from the guy that was on the other side of the river. That's kind of scary. Wow, this is weird. It's just like it goes in one direction, then immediately goes in a completely different direction. And there's just so much of it. Like this line up here. Think grave robbery in an attempt to obscure the reality of little Mrs. Wolf. In the past, the Russian collusion assertion have been followed up on many occasions with the advancement of illusions that would show discord in fiction between the colluding parties. You're falling faster. Obey your master. What the heck? Okay, that's crazy.
After reading the logbook, it's evident that a convicted felon has been wandering through the woods, leaving disturbing notes all over the place. The writing raises concerns about his mental stability, which is particularly alarming considering that Phil is alone in the middle of nowhere at night and doesn't seem to have anything to defend himself with. As Phil walked back to the shelter, he noticed a bottle hanging from a string on the ceiling. Attached to it was a note in the same handwriting as before. That read, "Watch out for Yeet Mouse. The dead do walk and talk." Disturbed by everything he was witnessing, Phil was overwhelmed with fear and anxiety. He ultimately decided to return to his tent and call it a night. However, as he tried to fall asleep, he heard footsteps approaching the shelter right next to his tent.
Okay, I'm out on the trail. It's the middle of the night. I was down in my tent listening to all the sounds, and then I heard somebody down by the shelter. So at first I had to convince myself it wasn't what I thought I heard, but it definitely was somebody down there. So I packed up all my stuff and I walked past. As I walked past, it did look like a single guy hanging out in the shelter. He had a headlamp on. All I could really see was the light from the headlamp, so I could have been wrong. So I don't know. I just got out of there.
After hearing footsteps outside his tent, Phil peeked out and noticed a man with a headlamp wandering around the shelter. Unsure if this was the same individual who had been leaving notes, he quickly gathered his things and headed back to his truck. Fortunately for Phil, he was not being followed or stalked and returned home safely. As of the time this video was uploaded, Phil has not gone back to the Appalachian Trail. The identity of the person who left the creepy notes and killed the duck remains unclear, and since Phil never found out the truth behind these disturbing experiences, this mystery might remain unsolved.
The more I think about it, the stranger it gets. But my gut were telling me, don't stay there.
In April of 2023, a YouTuber named Gaz uploaded a pretty disturbing video on his channel Grizzly Gaz in which he recorded footage of his strange encounter in the woods. His channel mostly featured him camping in some pretty extreme conditions with his French bulldog named Fendi. His videos are usually very wholesome and exciting, however, in this particular video that was not the case. In the video, Gaz along with his dog Fendi went camping in the woods somewhere in the UK. Initially, he showed his viewers how he set up his tent and chopped wood to start a fire. Everything seemed fairly normal up to this point. However, as he started to prepare his dinner, a random stranger in jeans and a coat appeared out of nowhere at his campsite and asked him for a beer and some food, which caused this to happen.
Right, we've got steaks on go now. Bit of ribeye. Pot boiling for some mash. And I've got a visitor. Creeped up behind me asking me if I had a light. I shit me pants. This is Martin anyway. I don't know him, but he's stopping for a steak.
Just some random crate wandering about.
You went round here in a poncho a couple of months ago, were you?
I don't think I was. I could have been. It's possible.
Right, gonna get these cooked up.
Even though the encounter between Gaz and Martin seemed pretty friendly, it's still very scary to suddenly be approached by a random guy in the middle of nowhere. If you listen closely to what he's saying, some of his sentences are a little peculiar, and he appears to slur his words when he talks. While they were enjoying their dinner, Martin mentioned that he was homeless and told Gaz the story about how he had ruined his life with drugs. To make things even more creepy, Gaz mentioned that while they were having dinner, he turned around for a few seconds to chop some more wood to keep the fire going, and when he turned back around, Martin had disappeared.
That lad, Martin, who creeped up behind me asking for a light. After I fed him, he scurried straight off. I did ask Martin if he's been creeping about in these woods before, but thinking, is he going to come back? The more I think about it, the stranger it gets. I turned round to cut some firewood up, and when I turned back round, he'd gone. I just found that really strange. The fact that he just left has put the EBGBs up me. But I've left my trail camera down there. We'll go back in the morning. But my gut were telling me, don't stay there. So I packed up, thrown a load of water on fire. Now I'm making my way out.
After the strange encounter, Gaz finally decided to leave the campsite and head home. He was afraid that the man might come back to rob him. As he had expensive filming equipment with him, there was also the possibility that the man might do something even worse to him. Out of curiosity, Gaz left a trail camera on one of the trees at the campsite to see if the man would return that night. To his surprise, when Gaz went back the next morning, the trail camera had been stolen.
Well, I am living every solo camper's nightmare right now. There appears to be an animal of some kind pacing around my tent. It's the middle of the night.
In May of 2018, a British YouTuber named CJ uploaded a very bizarre video titled "Fixing My Fridge in a Haunted Forest" on his channel Project Amber. CJ's channel primarily documents his travels and camping experiences across Europe as he travels out of his camper van. What sets his channel apart from other exploration channels is his dog named Lance. CJ always brings Lance along wherever he goes, and the two of them never travel without one another. His videos typically highlight the beauty of nature and have a relaxed and pleasant vibe to them. However, in this particular video, that was far from the truth. In the video, CJ was driving through the French countryside in his camper van when he noticed that his mini fridge was not working. He immediately pulled over to fix it. The spot where he stopped was in the middle of a rural forest, with no one else in sight for many miles. As CJ stepped out of the van to fix the fridge, his dog began to act very strangely. The dog stared intently at a well located close to where he had parked the van. This strange behavior caught CJ off guard, and this is when things started to take a very bizarre turn for CJ.
I'm going to give it the full 24 hours, I think, to... What are you looking at? You keep freaking me out, dog. There's no one over there. Are you seeing something I'm not? There's actually a well. Just where I'm parked, you go down this little track, and there's a well with a big metal bar on it. And originally I was going to go and park there, and I saw the well. Instantly started thinking about the ring, which when I was about, I don't know, I think it was about 10 when it came out, scared the shit out of me. For like a month I didn't sleep properly, and now the dog keeps looking over in that direction of where it is. So I'm like, nah mate, I might move, but I can't.
As CJ's dog continued to stare at the well, he mentioned that there was an abandoned well nearby, sealed with a heavy metal cover. Eventually, things returned back to normal, and CJ brushed off the strange occurrences he had been witnessing. As he worked on fixing his fridge, he decided to spend the night there. However, the next day, things took a turn for the worse when CJ began hearing mysterious sounds coming from the abandoned well.
Okay, I'm seriously freaked out now. A minute ago I could hear like really loud moaning, like "Aah!" like just booming across the mountain. So I've come down to where I could hear it. I got to this old well and it stopped. But just as soon as I got here, just from over there's no track or anything, it's just wood. This girl appeared, dressed kind of like a monk, no shoes, and no hair. So I said bonjour and that, and she responded. I asked if she was okay, but she didn't respond then, she just carried on walking. So I carried on a bit and then thought, I better double check. Went to go and find her again. She's gone. That way, that's where my van is, and that goes to the road. But down where she went that way, there's nothing, and there's nothing for miles. Where did she go?
After hearing mysterious noises coming from the well, CJ immediately went down to investigate the source of the noises. However, just as he approached the well, the sounds abruptly stopped. During this time, he spotted a girl dressed like a monk, barefoot and with no hair, who seemed to appear out of nowhere and walked into the woods. CJ called out to her, but she didn't respond and continued walking away into the distance. Concerned that the girl might be lost or having some type of mental trouble, he decided to follow her. However, by the time he reached the spot where she had been, she had mysteriously disappeared. Not only had the girl vanished, but there were also no footprints or signs of anyone's presence. Plus, the location where she disappeared was a relatively open area in the woods that stretched out for miles. Disturbed by what he had just witnessed, CJ decided to leave the woods. As he was walking back to his van, he saw the girl again, and this time recorded the disturbing encounter.
I have not got a clue what was going on there. That was so weird. The well, the moaning from the forest, the girl. Nah, maybe there's an explanation to it all, but I wasn't sticking around. I left, I booted it. I'm about 50 miles from there now. I saw the girl another 2 times. The last time I was near the van and she was running through the forest. I left. I was gone. I was gone so fast, I didn't even pack the van away. Yeah, it's a pretty big mess in here. But I do have a working fridge. The fridge is working. It's nice and cold now.
CJ mentioned that he saw the same girl 2 more times after filming her, and the last time he encountered her, she was running into the woods. After this encounter, CJ quickly hopped into his van and drove away without even packing all his belongings in the back. He also mentioned that his dog is typically very friendly and approaches people playfully. However, on this day, his dog seemed anxious and kept staring in the direction where the woman had gone. The identity of the girl and whether CJ's experience was paranormal remains a mystery. Many comments on his video point out that CJ's videos focus exclusively on his van life, and this is the only one of this kind, and has no reason to fake his content. However, these claims regarding the paranormal are not confirmed or verified and are merely theories and speculations. Consequently, the truth about the girl continues to be an unsolved mystery.